Some artists begin young, as if the studio were waiting for them from childhood. Sofia Bassi arrived later. She came to painting in midlife, and when she came, she did not arrive with small gestures. She arrived with eggs, stars, green dream worlds, watcher eyes, cosmic deserts, and messages that seemed to come from somewhere beyond ordinary speech. Her life would become as strange and charged as her paintings. Late awakening, rapid acclaim, public scandal, prison, reinvention, public recognition, and finally, one of the most unforgettable symbolic acts in modern Mexican art, the creation of an egg-shaped sarcophagus for her own final journey. As Sofia Bassi herself later wrote, "I never imagined that it would be precisely in prison where my vocation for alchemy would be reaffirmed. That's what I call my pictorial creativity, and that, in continuous dialogue with the esoteric force of art, I would be able to consecrate my brushes with the lightning bolts of my rightful protests." Alchemy is the right word, because her art was never simply decorative surrealism. It was transformation. Experience turned into symbol, suffering turned into image, life turned into a private cosmos. Sofia Bassi was born Sofia Celorio Mendoza in Veracruz in 1913 into a prominent family. Her early life followed a more conventional path than the legends of the youthful artistic genius. Marriage, family, social expectation, then later study in philosophy at UNAM before painting fully claimed her. That matters because Bassi does not begin as an obvious prodigy. She begins as a woman whose inward life was ripening in silence. She did not pick up the brush seriously until she was 51, encouraged by her second husband, Gianfranco Bassi. She was self-taught, and yet she moved quickly into exhibition life, showing work in Mexico and abroad soon after beginning. This gives her story its first charge. She began late, but she did not begin hesitantly. She painted as if something long contained had finally broken open, and on finding her art, which was by a passing social media post, I was stunned that her work is currently not well heard of outside of Mexico, which was my principal reason for creating this documentary, as I couldn't find an English language one when I searched. So this was made to honor her and spread her amazing artwork to new audiences. Her story also gives us that understanding of creativity, that it's never too late in life to begin a creative journey. When I first saw this painting, I was drawn to what I believed was an alien being, like a grey type, only to discover it was Bassi herself in an alternative, spiritual, possibly astral form. She is enshrouded in golden, copper-like fur material. Her eyes are dark and could be open or closed, but she is smiling. Her neck is elongated, but where her heart might be is a hand, holding a candle, letting us interpret that she is following her heart and spirit. The self-portrait becomes emergence, not just a tranquil face, but the beginning of authorship. Then comes Cazando Astreus, not gazing at stars, not admiring them, hunting them. And here we have a being part angel, part human woman perhaps, grasping a star from a green starlit sky. There is something in her stomach, a green oval with a symbolic fetus, possibly a symbol of the egg through womb symbolism. The symbol of a growing spiritual compass. Under the being is a scene that looks like a forest after it has been chopped down. There are jagged mountains on the horizon, and high above, one very bright star shines. The wish to seize light, to catch something distant and burning before it disappears. The work is documented in the Sofia Bassi Foundation catalogue as 1967 oil on masonite. Because she began late, the painting gives extra force. This is not youthful impatience, it is mature hunger. Then comes Operation Rescue. The title introduces urgency, danger, the sense that something is in peril and must be recovered. An egg-shaped, red-shelled, egg-like UFO is heading toward an islet in a very violent sea storm. The single mountain on the island is possibly sinking. The rescuing being in the UFO is headed straight for a cave entrance in the mountain. So a sinking world with a being coming to save whoever is left in the cave. And suddenly Bassi's world is not only visionary, it is dramatic. In hindsight, the title feels prophetic, because very soon painting will become exactly that for her. A rescue from disgrace, from confinement, from silence. So, this part is not merely the story of how she began, it is ignition. A woman in midlife opens the sealed room inside herself. The self steps into image. The stars are pursued, and already the art suggests that wonder for Bassi will never be far from ordeal. Once Bassi began painting, she did not paint ordinary reality as if ordinary reality were enough. She built a language, an egg, a portal of green, a cosmic vessel, a floating eye, a distant plane, a face half world, half message. This is the hidden alphabet of Sofia Bassi. At the center of it is the egg. In her work, the egg is not a decorative motif. It is creation, enclosure, gestation, survival, rebirth. A sealed chamber where transformation gathers force. Again and again, Bassi returns to that image until it becomes one of the master signs of her imagination. In Viaje Espacial, Bassi's language opens fully into the cosmos. A robed and hooded being is travelling on a simple boat with another being that looks part ghost, part mast. Underneath the ship, a tiny pendulum-like anchor is trailing in space. All around them are coloured planets, different worlds. This is not only space in the scientific sense, it is space as inward journey, space as spiritual extension, space as the soul refusing the limits of the ordinary room. She could absorb the imagery of the modern age without losing myth. That is one of her special gifts. If Viaje Espacial is movement, unknown world is destination, though destination may be too firm a word. Bassi's unknown worlds are never conquered. They remain strange. That gives them dignity. A single being is under a thick green sky in a jagged mountainous world. The being is standing on a small bridge over a river. A break in the green clouds reveals an orange sunset. It's a scene that is melancholic and about solitude. Unknown beauty for us, the viewer, to get lost in. Then comes El Encuentro, to the encounter. Another scene that evokes solitude. One lone traveller is travelling down a road through unknown mountains. The being has tentacles and appears to be floating along. A pilgrimage, perhaps. That title says something essential about her work. Bassi is always in approach, towards mystery, toward the unseen, toward whatever lies beyond paraphrase. This is why the paintings feel inhabited, not crowded but alive with presence. So by the end of this part we understand that Bassi is not painting random surreal scenes. She is constructing a coherent symbolic world, one strong enough soon to carry the weight of catastrophe. At this point, she was considered part of the Mexican art scene, which included photographer Katie Horner and artists Leonora Carrington and Remedios Varo. She also had her own spiritual mythology. Bassi's symbolic world was not built from paint alone. She moved through esoteric ideas with unusual seriousness, and she sometimes spoke as if her creativity arrived in dialogue with unseen presences. One of the strangest was Alfoli, an elf-like goblin, part companion, part occult familiar, whom she described as a guide in her artistic life. Whether taken literally, spiritually, or as an extension of her private mythology, Alfoli tells us something important. Sofia Bassi did not experience art as mere technique. She experienced it as contact. Artistic development was her spiritual compass, and I wonder whether or not her art was some sort of channeling. Then came the break in the story. On January the 3rd, 1968 in Acapulco, at Quinta Babaji in Las Brisas, her son-in-law, Count Cesare di Accaroni, was shot dead. His body was found floating in a swimming pool, full of bullet holes. Bassi took responsibility and said it was an accident. She was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in prison. But the case did not remain that simple. Reports that he had been shot multiple times cast doubt on the accident story, and another version of events began to circulate, that Bassi may have taken the blame to protect her daughter Claire. That version remains part of the mythology around the case, but it is not a settled fact. This is where legend and history begin to braid together. A wealthy family, a dead aristocratic son-in-law, a confession, a scandal, a woman turned overnight from rising painter into public sensation, and then prison. During her imprisonment, Bassi made 275 works signed ELC and Le Carciel in prison. She later described prison as the place where her vocation for alchemy was reaffirmed. Those initials matter. They are not decoration. They are the prison entering the work itself. And then comes her first mural, Primero mi patria, luego mi vida, created during her imprisonment, with the support of other major Mexican artists, including José Luis Cuevas, Alberto Gironella, Rafael Coronel, and Francisco Corzas. It is frequently cited as her first mural and later preserved in Acapulco's municipal building. A mural in prison, what an image! The wall that confines becomes the wall that speaks. If the mural is prison's public face, ensueño is its inward face. A reverie painted under confinement is not innocent dream. It is refuge under pressure. The initials ELC make that plain. This is dream marked by iron. And in the painting we have the giant bearded face of a bearded man whose hair is mountains, a flying green egg, a figure made from an old winter tree, and a spectral winged being. Then comes the tear of the world. The title alone enlarges grief into cosmology. Not one tear, but the world's tear. And it is this, that the soul of the world weeps for its denizens, the people, the animals, the life that suffers, and underneath two angels stand, wings expanded. It feels like it could be the emotional after-image of prison, private pain expanded until it becomes landscape. And this is the turning point of her life. Because after Acapulco, Bassi is no longer simply a late-blooming visionary. She becomes something harder and rarer, an artist who passed through public ruin and carried back from it a deeper symbolic cosmos. Many people and fellow artists campaigned for her release, including Leonora Carrington. She had a lot of sympathy from the public, as many believed what she had done to keep her daughter from jail was noble. And there were also rumours that the Italian count was abusive to her daughter Claire, and that in a crime of passion, Claire, her daughter, shot him. Bassi was released after roughly 4.5 to 5 years. Artists and intellectuals had campaigned on her behalf, and her case remained highly visible. She did not come out untouched. She came out altered, and yet she continued. A film was even made about the case, called Acapulco 68. So her life continued, and this is where Don Quixote matters. Bassi produced multiple Quixote-related works and writings around this broader chapter of her life, and the figure feels almost like a coded self-portrait. The dreamer mocked by the practical world, the wounded idealist who keeps moving. She also described carrying within herself a sun that persisted even in the darkest darkness, a private radiance living in her blood and spirit. That image is one of the deepest keys to her survival. Distant world feels like the perfect post-prison image. And distance here is not just geography, it is altered consciousness, the self looking from further away than before. She no longer stands where she once stood, and the painting knows it. A central jagged peak has figures underneath it, cowled. Alien monks moving and perhaps dancing in reverence to the holy mountain peak. Her symbol of spirituality, the egg is here, in blue. A ceremonial fire is blazing in what looks like a hollowed out stone tree trunk. Then comes a later mural, Sabiduria es Paz, usually cited as 1993 at UNAM. What a title after prison. Not innocence is peace, not forgetting is peace, wisdom is peace. That is the peace of someone who has seen contradiction and not gone blind. It's a beautiful painting of Mexico set as one of her scenes. We have the holy egg of transformation, flags of peace, and a woman singing whilst a man sits reading. In the air, doves of peace are flying over. And then, Tengo said, documented as a 1995 oil on masonite. After wisdom, thirst. That is beautiful because it means maturity did not close her questions. The soul remains alive, wanting, unfinished. A lone tree looks like a wintered tree, or an almost dead one. Its branches are bending toward a blue-green egg-shaped UFO. So we see the symbolism. The tree is not thirsty for water, but for spirituality, for truth. So, that was the chapter of a deepened life. Distance, peace, thirst, wisdom, not closure but continuation under a more complex light.
She came through late in the painted door, white as a ghost on the studio floor. Stars in her hands, fire in the clay, dreaming the night into day. Egg of the moon in a green black sky. Watch the old road with an inward eye. She heard strange voices call her name, and nothing in life stayed the same. There was a sun inside the blood, burning where the dark once stood. Through the cell and through the flood, she carried the sun inside the blood. inside the blood, burning where the dark once stood, through the cell and through the flood. She carried the sun inside the blood, egg of silence, star of flame, call her softly by her name. White horizon, open wide, she walked through shadows, lit inside. There was a sun inside the blood, burning where the dark once stood, through the cell and through the flood. She carried the sun inside the blood.
After prison and survival, Bassi did not disappear into footnote or private obscurity. She continued to paint, exhibit, publish, and enter public cultural life. Her work circulated internationally. She was associated with the Salón de la Plástica Mexicana, and in 1988, the Poliforum Cultural Siqueiros held a retrospective, honoring her work. She also wrote books, worked in design and illustration, and later served in humanitarian roles. This is where the private cosmos becomes public without losing its strangeness. Here, viaje especial changes meaning. Earlier it was inward voyage, now it is also public image. The private symbolic world meeting a collective human movement. It was linked to the moon landing era, unveiled by Michael Collins and later entered the Smithsonian. That is one of the marvels of Bassi. She met the public sphere by remaining unmistakably herself. And now, Cazando Estrellas becomes prophetic. Star hunting no longer sounds only like early aspiration. It sounds like destiny fulfilled through imagery, recognition, and the building of an entire astral mythology. By now the audience enters the picture. The connection established between the artist and her audience was felt. Her dreamlike alchemy, as she called it, touched deep into the soul of whoever saw her work, communicating secrets and messages from another dimension. That line gets to the heart of public Bassi. She was not simply visible, she was transmissive. The paintings did not just sit there, they sent signals. And that more than fame is why her work endured. Scandal fades. A convincing symbolic universe lasts. In the end, Sofia Bassi did not abandon her symbols, she entered them. Across her career, the egg had been one of her great reoccurring signs. Creation, enclosure, rebirth, voyage. In her final years, that symbol became physical in the Ovosarcófago, an egg-shaped fiberglass sarcophagus she designed over many years and used in connection with her funeral and memorialization. This was not a surrealist stunt. It was the completion of a lifelong private language and her spiritual truth. A painter who had made eggs into cosmologies now made one into a vessel for herself. That is not just theatrical, it is metaphysical. One line associated with her says it perfectly. Each painting is a spaceship. The Ovosarcófago is the master ship of my personal adventure. The Ovo was used in her funeral, a symbol for her rebirth into the spirit world. She died in September 1998, aged 85. Her ashes were placed at the Capilla de la Paz in Acapulco, beneath the great cross overlooking the bay. How fitting that Acapulco, once the city of scandal and prison, also became part of her final geography. That is the Bassi way. Nothing remains, only one thing. The prison becomes a studio, the wound becomes a painting, the egg becomes a ship. And perhaps that is the true meaning of metamorphosis in her work. Not simple change, but the power to carry contradiction forward without letting it harden into silence. So when we look back across her story, we do not see a straight line, we see chambers. The late awakening, the hidden alphabet, the gunshot and the cell, the inward sun, the public mirror, and finally the egg, closed, luminous, carrying its mystery intact. The egg, the prison, the stars. Not three separate things in the end, but one life speaking three languages at once. And Sofia Bassi still seems to stand just beyond the frame. In white, still sending messages, still making her dreamlike alchemy felt across the dark. Still asking us not merely to understand, but to be transformed.
White on the hillside, night on the bay, she made a painted vessel for the end of day. Egg of the silence, shell of the soul, stars in the lacquer, calling her home. Ovosarcófago, carry me through. Ovosarcófago, painted in blue. Ovosarcófago, ship of the white, take me unbroken into the night. Brush in the twilight, gold in the seam, she built a final doorway out of death and dream. See far below her, cross in the air, one little egg of fire, glowing everywhere. Ovosarcófago, carry me through. Ovosarcófago, painted in blue. Ovosarcófago, ship of the white, take me unbroken into the night. No more prison, no more
through. Ovosarcófago, painted in blue. Ovosarcófago, ship of the whites, take me unbroken into